We are going to lose our country.
Are once again mounting against Iran ahead of a crucial report by the UN nuclear watchdog due next week. It's as Israel tests a new ballistic missile and reports that suggest the idea of a military strike on the Islamic Republic is being pushed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. To discuss the situation, we're now joined live from Buenos Aires by international consultant and author Adrian Salvucci. Good to see you today. We've seen a lot of Western intervention in the region, certainly this year when you think of the whole Arab Spring. There's already a lot of military hardware in the area already in place. How possible is it that an attack on Iran is really being considered?
Well, I think we have to be very cautious how we analyze that news. There was a front-page article in the London Daily Mail yesterday saying that the US and the UK were drawing up joint plans to attack Iran. Now, this has been going on for more than 4 years now, these permanent threats against Iran on the part of Israel, who are calling for a preemptive strike. That's what Mr. Netanyahu said only 2 days ago. And it all coincides with the debacle of Israeli attack on southern Lebanon in 2006. So I think we have to be very cautious and basically understand that what Iran is the cornerstone of probably what is an ongoing, very tough negotiation to move forward towards a world government where Russia and China are not going to bow in very easily to the Western powers. And Iran is the cornerstone because contrary to Iraq, which was on its own, Saddam Hussein, contrary to Libya and Afghanistan, Iran has definitely a very strong commercial and trade agreement with China, and it has a very strong trade agreement with Russia, and although it's not official, it probably has some sort of military alliance with Russia too. So I think that what we are seeing is we are probably edging closer to what might become a full-fledged war in the region, even a world war where Iran is the cornerstone if it is attacked by Israeli, American, British, or a combination of all three forces in the near future.
It is very interesting how you bring Russia and China into this, basically describing the massive trade agreements between Iran and China and Russia. Certainly, if the West did try and attack Iran, it would certainly flare tempers in two of the biggest world powers, that of Russia and China. Now, moments ago, you mentioned the issue of Israel. If Israel did unilaterally attack Iran, as we know just a few days ago, it test-fired this new intercontinental missile, do you think America would have to support its closest ally? Would it have to be involved?
America supports Israel unconditionally in the diplomatic, strategic, military, financial spheres. There is a whole line of thought in America from academic Stephen Walt of Harvard University and John Mearsheimer of Chicago University that says that Zionist influence through AIPAC, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Commission, is so strong that it has succeeded in making American foreign policy prioritize the national interest of Israel over the national interest of the United States. Now, the United States is not so much bent on war, public opinion, against Iran, but Israel is. So one can envision that Israel is a wild card. It might unilaterally attack Iran. It will then bear a counterattack, which will be ferocious from Iran against Israel. And then the Western media will plan the whole thing out so that it will drag public opinion from America and Europe to support Israel. And what can happen after that is anybody's guess, because we don't know what Russia will do. We don't know what China will do. We don't even know what Pakistan and India will do.
Now,
and
so you bring in the more regional and even a global perspective here. But we saw the American-backed NATO effort in Libya. Just over the past week or so, we've been seeing the reports from a UN nuclear watchdog about Syria and an alleged nuclear plant there that actually for the past 2 decades has been a cotton mill. Now the UN nuclear watchdog talking about a possible strike on Iran. Just what is the geopolitical global agenda here coming from the West?
Well, I think that basically we have a global power elite that is embedded in the United States, embedded in the United Kingdom, and in many countries of Europe, but is not part of the United States, Britain, and the European Union. They are bent on world government, and they use the U.S. military prowess to try to achieve that, and NATO's prowess to try to achieve that. Now, what we have seen in Libya is very different from what can happen with Iran, because Gaddafi committed the same mistake that Saddam Hussein is, and that's being alone thrown in the crossfire. But Iran is not Iraq, Iran is not Libya, and things will be very different. And I even believe that perhaps in their desperation, they are looking towards a World War III scenario, because as happened with World War II, it is an opportunity to kick the chessboard and reshuffle all the cards. And I suppose that this global power elite bent on world government will try to reshuffle all the cards in their favor.
Wish we had more time to take this further. Adrian Salvucci, international consultant.
Which they wish to involve Europe, the United States, and, well, Canada, North America, and Russia and China. I was told by insiders in the 1990s in America that the plan was to lead to a conflict involving China. For this reason, in the 1800s, letters were written, and particularly one particular letter, between two high-level players in the secret society network, in which the 3 world wars were described of where they were going to go. And this letter included the detail of countries that would be involved and how it would be started. And it described the First World War, with the Germans brought into conflict with the rest of Europe and America. It described the Second World War in the same terms and said it would lead to a Jewish state in Israel. And the Third World War would be triggered out of the Middle East, involving Israel as the trigger, and would bring about the final global conflict, which would lead to them being able to offer the solution to stop this ever happening again, which would be a world government and a single world army. And the idea of that is to say, if we have a single world army and we bring an end to national armies, then we can't ever again have a war. What they won't tell you is those that have manipulated the war will be the same people that offer the solution to the war, which is exactly the structure of control that they want. And I feel very strongly that Georgia, I'm not saying this war's going to happen tomorrow, but Georgia was a move on the chessboard in this direction. And I'll tell you a story that happened to me in England which relates to this. And it seems, quite a minor story until it starts to play out. Last March 2008, I received a letter from a man in England who is what we call there, or called there, a traffic warden. He wrote to me because he read my books, and he said, look, there's something I don't understand, and there's something that's really bewildering me. He said, I've been called in by my boss, and like my colleagues, he said, I've been given 3 cards, authorization cards. He said, one of the cards is to give me authorization to be a traffic warden. Okay. But the second card was what they call in Britain a pace card, and that carries the words that policemen have to say by law when they're arresting somebody. And the third card was the authorization of this man and his colleagues, traffic wardens, to go into private property without permission. So this man, who's a nice guy, he said to his boss, why do I need the statement you make to arrest people if you're a policeman, and why do I need an authorization to go into private property? And his boss said, look, I've been told to give them out, take them home, leave them until further notice. A few days later, him and a few other traffic wardens are outside the police station in this county, this town, and a policeman came out that this traffic warden had known a long time, I hadn't seen for a while. And the policeman came over and made the small talk, and then he pulled his friend aside. He said, I want to talk to you. And he said to him 4 or 5 times in this conversation, you must not breathe a word about this. He said, I've got the job, he said, in this county, and there's someone like me in every other county of the United Kingdom, policeman, whose job it is to organize in preparation for a coming war. He said, we're preparing for this war well in advance. And he said, what's expected by the government is that when this war starts, there will be massive civil unrest on the streets of Britain and protest. He said, so what's happening is that when that war starts and the protests start, the civil unrest they're expecting, the military and ourselves, police officers, will be focusing on dealing with the civil unrest. And you, traffic wardens, private security guards and companies, closed-circuit television operators, and all these kind of people will be brought forward to do the jobs that police officers currently do while we're dealing with the civil unrest. Well, he sent me the cards and I saw them to confirm they existed. A few days after he contacted me, the British government announced that they were going to redesignate and rename traffic wardens civil enforcement officers, and they were going to give them powers, some of the powers currently that the police have. "10 days ago, all these months later after this happened, 10 days ago, the government in Britain announced that they were introducing a new designation of authority called accredited persons. And these were security guards, private security firms, CCTV operators, etc., who were going to be given accredited person status and given powers that are currently the powers of the police. Now, why I tell this story is that everything that this police officer said was going to happen is happening or has happened. The only thing that remains is the war. And that fits with all these other different pieces of information that suggests that a major conflict is being orchestrated, which